in a few days. But what's even better is, as we know, a lot of people want to start with samples rather than just jumping in for $110, I think it is now with the new VIP club. Is even if they do order that way, we should, rather than, so let's say they ordered today, which is Wednesday, right? If they did the economy shipping, it might not get to them until like Tuesday of next week, depending on where they are. This time of year, there's a lot of like, people have stuff going on. There are a couple different holidays thrown in, whatever, that can delay it even further. So there could be times when people are waiting a week after they place their order for it to actually come. Or people like get their order on a Thursday and they're like, I'm going to start it on Monday after I go up north for the 4th of July. And all this stuff just kind of happens. And there's a big gap of time between when they're super excited and actually place their order between that, when they actually drink their first ketone. And what we want to do is eliminate that by getting them some to basically hold them over until their order comes. So whether you are brand new or just haven't done this before, it's super easy. As soon as someone expresses any interest at all, if it's a sample pack, instead of like waiting to go to the post office until the next day and shipping it out and having it take 3 days, just drive it over to them or walk it over to them or meet in the middle or whatever. If someone orders through your link, drive same thing, drive over to them, meet in the middle, whatever, so that we can get ketones in their hands within hours of them being super excited and wanting to actually try it.
And I'm going to take it one step further, because let's say you are already at this moment driving samples over to people, right? And you're already doing this, and that's awesome. If you're not, that's okay. It's a brand new day. Your business is brand new today. You can start doing this today. Once you are en route, literally in the car, driving them over, a lot of times people think like, oh yes, I'm almost done. I'm going to drop these off and then I'm going to get back in the car and I'm going to drive home. Leave the car running.
Sneak up to the mailbox and slip it in so that nobody knows that you're there.
What works even better, if we're following the good, better, best model, is get out of your car, hand it to them and say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. You're starting your ketone journey today. I want to take a picture with you, because like, what if you love this stuff? What if this is the thing that changes your life the way it did mine? I want to have a picture with you for us to be able to document and remember this moment. Snap a picture with them, give them one of these, take a selfie, and then have them post it and say, oh my gosh, thanks, Cecilia, for dropping off some samples for me. I can't wait to give this a try. That's when it really starts to get exciting. You can also say to the person, in addition to taking a picture with them, also, I just kind of started doing this like very recently. Nobody's weirded out by it. They're actually so flattered that you want to take a picture with them. Think about it. People race through their day constantly. You actually are someone, maybe they're just getting to know who wants to get to know them, right? In addition to taking the picture, in addition to having them post that picture, also say, hey, I'm out and about today anyway. Is there somebody else who would drink one of these in your life if I brought them one right now or later this afternoon? Who else do you know that wants to try this with you, that's looking to feel better this summer?
Even if you're not out and about that day.
Make it up. Right? So this is our cleanest example that we have of this very thing. We had this moment, right? So we live in Ripon, and it doesn't have to be this extreme, but this is how cool this can be if you take this level of intensity and excitement around it. So we live in Ripon, Wisconsin. Brendan is from Dubuque, Iowa. I was on the phone a couple months back in winter with a lady in the Dubuque area where Brendan's from, who was interested in trying ketones. This was maybe like a Wednesday night. She was thinking of maybe learning more. She was thinking of maybe, possibly ordering a challenge pack eventually. She was thinking, this sounds interesting. I know the McCoys from the area. Cool. I could sense that she was really excited, right? So I just happened to say, we're actually going to be home this weekend to visit my in-laws. We weren't. Tom and Beth did not know we were going to be coming.
We weren't even going to be home.
Actually, my in-laws weren't even going to be home that weekend. So I said, we're going to be home this weekend. We can actually come by and bring you a couple flavors. And if you have anybody in your life who wants to try it, we can all learn about it together face to face. And she's like, let me talk to my husband. I'll get back to you. That would be really nice. calls me back an hour later. We're going over to meet her and Jeff and his two sisters. So her two sister-in-laws. That weekend, we spontaneously go and we stay in Brendan's parents' house, even though they weren't home. And we go over to Lori's house. Lori signs up with a mega pack. So she buys like the big bundle, right? Maybe if we wouldn't have done this, she would have still done that. Probably not without meeting us in person, right? And like really getting a sense of like that we're nice people and we're excited about this. And we took a picture, the 6 of us. So it was Brendan and me, Lori and her husband, and her 2 sister-in-laws. Then Lori travels for work a lot, right? So she grabs her mega pack. She's about to leave and go to like California for a week, totally dialed out of pocket, not touching her phone, gone for a week. One approach might be, I'm going to wait till she gets back to help her launch, right? The other approach might be her 2 sister-in-laws who just ordered with her are super excited and they are in that picture. What did those 2 sister-in-laws do? Put up a post. I send them a couple extra flavors as a thank you of like, woohoo, you get to try some other yummy ones. Lori comes home a week later with $500 for her first MVP cycle. She doesn't even know what's going on because her 2 sister-in-laws posted. She doesn't even know what MVP is. Her mega pack is probably just arriving because it's only 5 days later, right? Now her sister-in-laws have referred people, so they're really excited. That all happened because we did essentially a keto drive-by with a lady in Iowa who was interested, right? And it doesn't have to be that extreme. That can be someone around the corner from you. So that's a really, like, I don't know if that makes sense to people, but that's how quickly this can speed up if you're in the driver's seat of your business.
Yeah.
So do you want to keep
Well,
going?
I think too, if you have been around for a little bit or have a team or really just anybody, even if your team is 1 and you've been working with some people, it's so much better to get people in this mode of like taking action, actually doing this stuff. I think a lot of times we fall into the habit of like, we want to make sure that the newest person understands everything. Like, here's how you refer people. Here's what all the different bonuses are. Here's what All-Star is 4 months from now if you sign up all these people. And if you hit Roundtable, also you get this bonus. And also, like, there's a car bonus that comes later on too, but also, you want to understand the retailer bonus and like all of this stuff. It doesn't matter. If they don't take the action, none of that's going to matter anyway. So if we can get them in the mode of like, who are like 3 to 5 people that we can drop samples off today or tomorrow and get them in the action. And then all of a sudden they're like, by the way, you're halfway to this MVP thing, which is $500. We can get into that later, but who are 3 to 5 more people that you can drop some samples off for? And it just makes it so much cleaner rather than like all of this information, and it almost like freezes people because they don't understand what to do next. Whereas if we just give them a couple super simple action steps of who can you drop samples off to, or who is about to order that we can take some to hold them over and keep super excited. What can we do right now to help get you launched in order to get them to the bonuses before they even realize what they actually are?
I think the thing that most people are most scared of when they get started is not so much I think understanding all the back office stuff is part of it. But what they're actually scared of is if they ask somebody, will that person not be interested, right? And so if we can help them get over that fear, that's going to make them feel better and actually start to believe that, yeah, people do want to know what this is. People do want to feel better, and you have something that can help them. So a couple examples of this too, as far as if you have some new people on your team who are just getting started and how to do drive-bys with them. For my birthday this year, we had a new girl on our team who had some people in the area who were interested. Instead of her doing all the drive-bys by herself because she was unsure of what to say, she was brand new, she just liked the stuff, right? We rode in the car together. So she drove me around. Actually, I think I might have been the driver. And we started at her hair salon where she works, right? And she was putting a color on somebody's hair there, and that person had some questions, and we gave her a sample to try. Then we got in the car and we went over to a smoothie shop. We actually just stopped for a smoothie in her hometown. She saw somebody there. They asked what we were doing. We said we were out and about delivering samples, gave that woman one to try, right? Then we went to her eyelash lady, and her eyelash lady not only took one for herself, but she had a couple friends that already knew that they were coming, and those friends wanted a couple samples. Then we went over to a former colleague of hers at a different hair salon, and that lady wanted to try some, and her client did. And then we went over to where her mom works at a local high school and went into the high school and visited and shook some up with her coworkers there. So that was a whole day of keto drive-bys that if we would have sent samples in the mail, would have delayed it by a couple of days. And that was just a really fun way to help introduce more people to it. We've done that kind of stuff all the time. I was just at the farmer's market last week, Wednesday. A lady was there, and because she lived only 5 minutes away, she didn't bring her phone with her to the farmer's market. She wanted to order, but you do need your cell phone to place an order. I offered to go over to her house after the farmer's market and help her place her order. Even though I had been there all afternoon and she could have came back, I personally went to her house, right? One more example I have that I love is we actually had a lady who was brand new to the team. I know Brendan's keeping an eye on the chat too, in case there are questions that pop up. We had a lady who was newer to the team who lived in a neighboring community, and she was a nurse. And she put up a post that said, "My friend Maddie is coming to deliver samples to the area tomorrow," because she already had some friends who were interested. She ended up having 10 friends want a sample. She was at work. I drove into Sheboygan, which is about an hour away, had a little notebook of all her friends' names with their cell phone numbers, and met up in Walmart parking lots, and met up in an after school parking lot, and met at different houses, and hand delivered samples for her while she was at work so that her friends could begin experiencing it. What I did that day, actually, and it's your business, so you can do it however you want. I said, you can take one out of my bag and pick whatever flavor you want. If you actually put up a post, because we took pictures together, every one of her friends, and sent them to my new friend who was the promoter, and said, if you pop this picture, you can actually pick 2. Most people popped a picture, right? Because they wanted to try 2 flavors. So that's just one way of, spreading seeds in your local community. And then think about it, those 10 people who got hand delivered a sample, all putting up a post, all have 1 or 2 people who are then interested. Mm-hmm. So is this making sense? I know we're going through a lot of examples. Okay.
I think the one of the biggest benefits behind this, other than the obvious of people getting ketones in their hands faster, is just how much it can raise your own energy and your team's energy. I think especially this time of year in the summer, the weather's getting nice, people are running all over the place with grad parties and sports and vacations, and it's a crazy time of year. So it's really easy to fall into the habit of all of a sudden a week goes by and it's a weekend and you haven't done anything for your business for a little bit, whereas this is a really easy actionable thing that's going to help kind of move things along a little bit and keep you super excited. Because when you go to drop a sample off for someone who is over the moon excited about what the benefits of ketones can do for them, it just makes you want to do more and makes you want to help that person that much more and make sure that they have a really good experience. So it just increases your own energy level just by doing this really simple thing. And that's all you have to do this summer is just get ketones in people's hands however you can and however quickly you can, and that's going to propel you into the fall once the busy season does kind of slow down. And I think a lot of people too, customers that we're working with are like, oh yeah, I'll order next week when we get back from whatever. But if we can just get them some ketones to get them through the weekend, a lot of people, as we know, love ketones from the second they try them. And all of a sudden it's Saturday afternoon, they're like, oh my God, I feel amazing. I need to get some more of this stuff. And it just helps speed things along. Whereas they're like, yeah, I'm kind of interested. I'll place an order on Monday or Tuesday or whenever I get back. It just helps get people trying ketones sooner. And as a result, it's going to make you that much more excited to keep doing it.
Yeah. So I would say too, and I really can't emphasize this enough either, if you do have teammates in your local community or team leaders, do it together, right? Because, I know a lot of the people who have been doing this for a little while on this call, and I know they would be ecstatic to help you do keto driveways for your people while you're at work, or ride along with you as you introduce your friends to it. So that was really something that I think can take the pressure off of you and show the community that's behind doing this. And as leaders, if you are building a team and have some people on your team, just understanding like your newest person has no clue what to do. So you doing it with them and letting them know that they're not alone and being in that car with them on days like this really does make it a lot better.
Yeah. There are a couple questions in the chat about if we give them away or if we sell them. I would say don't mess up good for perfect, meaning there's really no right or wrong way to do it. Honestly, it's pretty split. Sometimes if someone's buying a full like 5 or 10 day sample pack from us, then we'll charge people the same as we normally would. But if we're doing just like a really quick drive-by and it's like pop up this post and we'll give you a free flavor, we do that too. We don't typically give away more than like 5. If someone wants to try 10 or whatever, we'll sell them that. But honestly, it kind of depends. Everyone's in a different situation. There are some people who are low on product and they, need the cash. There are some people who've been, have tons of product that are coming out of their ears. So honestly, I would say there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just a matter of getting people into the mode of trying ketones.
So this question was in the chat. Oh, just reading that. Once you hand someone a package of ketones, do you get their info to follow up? Yes, absolutely. If you don't already have it, I would absolutely make sure that you're connected with them on whatever, if you use social media platform and their cell phone number, both is great. I would also highly recommend, doing a connect message with if you are brand new, especially with a leader that you're working closely with to be able to help you answer their questions. There was something else that I saw somebody say too. And I also justify it too. It's your business, right? We typically, if it's more than 2 or 3, then they're going to pay for a sample pack, right? But if somebody is willing to drink it, right, I would be shaking one up for somebody at a Keto Life party and not charging them for it. So, you kind of have to look at it as it is a business, right? So that's your choice. You can either charge them $5, or if they're willing to drink it and learn about it and spend time with you, that can be definitely worth your time. And if they're willing to put up a post and introduce it to a couple of their friends too, an extra packet, can go a long way in that regard too.
Yeah. And I'm glad that Chris and Danny put this in the chat too. Talk to the people that you work really closely with. I guarantee you they would be willing to supply some product for you. If you're someone who's just getting started out and you're kind of only have enough ketones for yourself to drink, ask them for a little bit of support too, and they'll send you some and you can utilize that too. And even if it's like, we'll replace some product in the future or whatever, I don't even have enough to sell samples because I need the ones that I'm going to drink myself, borrow them from somebody else and pay them back, or, use the money that you sell to pay them for their own product. But utilize the people who you work closely with, because I'm sure will be more than happy to support this as well.
Yes. So honestly, you can get creative and fit it to your personality with how you want to invite people to offer drive-bys, right? I think a really simple way to do it, and this was what we started doing when we started really emphasizing keto drive-bys, is we just said, I'm trying something new this year, or I'm doing something new this summer where I really want to help more people taste what I found and what I love so much. If I drive you one over, would you drink it? I really want your feedback on it. Follow up with anybody who's ever expressed interest, and has ever talked to you about ketones, and just offer to drive one over to them. And they might be like, wow, that was really nice. Like, she must really want me to try this. So that's how I would just approach it for yourself. And then maybe you designate a day of the week that you do all your drive-bys. If you have one day that you have more free time, maybe you do drive-by Fridays. in conjunction with Freebie Friday, right? Or however you want to do it. But that's how I would kind of put it into action.
Yeah. And then what Maddie said too, with people who have ever expressed interest, the other group of people to do this with too is people who were loving ketones, who maybe stopped for whatever reason and just never started back up, and say like, grab a flavor that has come out since the last time that they tried ketones and say, I think you would absolutely love the Velvet Raz flavor. Do you want me to drop one off this afternoon? Maybe we can talk about, trying ketones again, or I can make sure that you understand some of the benefits behind it or whatever else. Like, that's another group of people too that you can follow up and do this with.
And your current customers, right? If you have a current customer and you say like, hey, I'm actually doing the person who comes to mind is your grandma. Brendan's grandma Shar loves her ketones, and Grandpa Jim loves Mitoplex because he loves to play pickleball, right? So they live in Iowa, where Brendan's from. One of the last times we were home, I was like, hey, Grandma, have you mentioned this to anybody else? Does anyone else want to try it? She mentioned it to her hair lady, Jessica. I brought a packet of raspberry lemonade to Jessica that day. Didn't know Jessica, but just went into her hair salon. Jessica now is a VIP customer. She's doing the Summer Slim. She was on Keto Academy, all because I asked Grandma if she knew anybody who knew anybody, or you know what I mean? Like, it's like, you can literally tap into your customer base and ask them like, hey, have you mentioned this to anyone? Like, has anyone expressed interest in learning about this with you? And they'll say, actually, yeah, there's a couple of my coworkers or my dog groomer or whoever. And you can be the little sunshine that drops one off for them and allows them to start learning about it too.
Yeah.
So
I think we answered the questions that were in the chat, but if we missed it and it's way at the beginning, just throw it back in the chat so we can make sure it gets answered. But yeah, I think coming out of this, what I would encourage everybody to do as kind of an action step is make a list of however many, if you're new, maybe it's a couple less, maybe if you've been around for a little bit, do a couple more, 3 to 10 to 20 people who are in your local area who have either expressed ketones, have tried ketones before, or are loving ketones, and just say like, I'm doing some drive-bys this afternoon or whenever you can get there, with some special flavors. Like, can I bring you a couple, or do you want to learn more about this? And just go do it. I would challenge everybody to do at least 5 before the 4th of July weekend next week. And I think you'll be shocked at the results that come out of it.
hot dog.
This is what I have to live with.
But honestly, I promise you, the best way, if you're feeling, and I don't know how everyone is feeling, right? But sometimes it can be like, oh man, I feel a little bit like in a rut. There's some people who are just not jumping in, that don't want to try it, right? If you do one keto drive-by and bring somebody to somebody who's brand new and you get that feeling with them, like, do you guys remember, maybe you do because some of you are super new, but do you remember how you felt when you tried your first ketone? Like, just think about that for a moment. Do you remember getting that packet, whoever you got it from? Maybe you did order it, but still, the box arrived, the sample pack arrived, and you were like, here we go. And what went through your mind? Probably a whole bunch of things. Is this going to work? I really hope this works. She's really full of it. Like, whatever those thoughts are, give yourself the gift and give someone else the gift of feeling that again with somebody. And the only way you're going to do that and get reignited is to hand deliver them to someone and watch it through their eyes. We don't have kids yet, but you watch kids experience things through their eyes and you feel it that same way. This is the same thing with bringing somebody a solution for feeling better, right? So yeah, I think 5 by the 4th of July, just like corn needs to be knee-high by the 4th of July in Iowa, is a really, really good goal. So
yeah, and I think the last thing is like, for all of those people who had put a 1 in the chat that had basically tried ketones before their order actually came, like, think about how different your experience maybe would have been if you hadn't gotten those couple samples or the 1 drive-by or the little drop off. Like, if you hadn't gotten that in your hands, how would your story have been different? Would you have waited a little bit? Would you maybe not have been as excited? This is the gift that we have to give to people, is like showing them how excited we are and making sure they have a knockout experience. So anyway, we kept that to 30 minutes.
We did. So yes, definitely. I hope this was helpful, and I really appreciate you taking the time with us today. I know you guys are awesome, and it meant a lot for us to be able to share this with you. So have an amazing Wednesday. Get your booties in your cars and share what we have our hands on. People are waiting for us. So take care, everybody.
Yeah.
Talk to you later.
See ya.